And it's such a pleasure to be here and to join you from London. And Dolph, it's been extraordinary seeing your work and appreciating it, and particularly the sort of the images of it sort of being shown in situations, sort of on stage and so on. And I think my questions really follow on kind of echo with Sandrine's, and I think maybe Sandrine, you've already asked them in some ways, but there were two really. One was about this drawer that you had that had all the basket lids in it that you said was so exciting for you. And I wondered whether you could say a little bit more about what was exciting about it, because I have some ideas and some sense, but what was it about the patterns that you particularly loved and that seemed unusual to you across the years, and how, and perhaps if you could say how that has now changed in contemporary Rwanda and the sort of basketry that we're seeing in contemporary Rwanda. And then a related question, which Sandrine was also sort of talking about, was sort of this connection between the visual arts, between dance, between poetry, between sort of oral storytelling and so on, between pottery, between all these different sort of forms in Rwanda. And I was wondering whether there were any kind of particular symbols or you've talked a bit about the circle, whether there are things like this that you see coming up in the visual arts that you then see coming up again in poetry, that you then recognize again in dance, whether there are a few of those that you might mention for us. And apologies, I'm talking from my kitchen because I've been cooking for my kids and they're about to come through the door. So if I turn the video off, that is why. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Zoe. This is very, very interesting question. Omar, can you please show the box? Can you present and bring the box back to the image? There are so many leads in that box, and to me, every time I see one lead here, another there, but seeing all of them together was very, very interesting to me, because also something that most people don't know is that the Rwandan weaving was very, very diverse. But from the Belgian era, the most intricate patterns were not allowed to be woven because they would take time, right? So they decided, can you go to the box, Omar? There is slide with a box. Go the previous page, maybe. Yeah, keep going. Yes, thank you. No, go back to the box. Yeah. So the most intricate patterns were not allowed to be woven because they would take time, and in a market where time is becomes the thing, before a weaver would sit on the sunset and weave and make the best, right? There's no deadline, there is no time, it's very personal. Now, in a world where things have to be rushed, so many things got lost in the process. And to me, retrieving this box kind of showed me that there is so many patterns that I didn't know existed, but also that can be seen. And from a geometrical perspective, all these are circular and they are very small. It's like 10 centimeter diameter, and they are very, very small. But if you look at each one, it's a circle, but it's like how many combination of patterns can you have on a circle? It's infinite. Also, the infinite nature of the circle means that it's really infinite because it can hold infinity in its own being. And I don't know, sometimes one weaver would create something, right? Another one will create something. And all this diversity, seeing it together, it's very, very interesting to me. Now, look at the one which I have drawn on top. There is one which, there are two. So the first one with so many lines, this is me trying to figure out the connection between these elements. Omar, can you zoom a little bit? So I was trying to make, so the way these patterns are built, so they will create visible lines and then they will omit some lines, but these lines are really, which are omitted, is like a puzzle on which you have to solve. So there are so many interests to me as objects, as artifacts, the geometrical perspective, the design aspect, but also in terms of meaning. There is this pattern on the left with some reddish kind of pattern here. So you can see these triangles going in from three different angles. And I saw the same pattern on on a different object, but also in terms of meaning. To me, I think this was very easy to understand because the central pattern is not touched, but all these concentric circles around, they have the triangle, which can represent hostility. Most weapons, most arrows are triangular. You know, it can be a very hostile shape. So you can see it cutting through the three concentric circles, but the one at the center is not touched. And then this also represents that really going inward is the safest you can be. It's like you can have hostility coming from left and right, but if you are centered within yourself, nothing can touch you. So I don't know what else meaning is there to find, but there are so many ways of interpreting the meanings of these patterns. And the other question was about...
Zoe, do you like to repeat the question?
So the other question was about whether there are particular symbolic elements that you see threading through from the visual arts to poetry to dance to and so on. Whether because you were talking about the circle, and I can imagine how the circle is present there in metaphors and in sort of in arm movements and so on. Were there particular gestures or movements or symbols that you see across art forms?
Yes, it's very good that we still have the box here because these patterns you see, you can call it like, these are the same patterns which propagate through different art forms. They propagate through music, they propagate through architecture, they propagate through dance, the way people dance, the formation and everything, but yes. So, and which kind of leads us to kind of tap into what really a pattern is. A pattern is like the most fundamental expression of something. This is like the prime material of everything that we see in so many ways of expression. This is the best way to understand Rwanda. This is the best way to understand Rwanda because the thing about geometry, when you study geometry, you are studying all other topics at once. The rest is translation.